The Denver Broncos have been named in multiple rumors and linked to multiple sources saying that we are about to make a move for a former Super Bowl player, a former Pro Bowl player, a position really of need that I think could change everything for this team. I think could propel us into a deep run in the playoffs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. I talk all things Denver sports, and it really helps me out if you would like and subscribe. So let's dive into this most recent rumor and address, do we think that's going to happen? Do we think that would make a difference? So before we do that, if you could drop a comment on here, do you think Russell Wilson will be on this team in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years? How long do you think Russell Wilson will be our quarterback? After throwing 3 interceptions last week against the Houston Texans, you hear a lot of the grumbling that happened last year under Nathaniel Hackett start to come up again. You hear people saying he is handcuffing Sean Payton, that Sean Payton isn't able to do his high-flying offense because he's hamstrung by Russell Wilson. And I want to push back on that a little bit, that I do not think that Russell Wilson is limiting whatsoever what Sean Payton wants to do. And if Sean Payton isn't doing exactly what he wants to do, it's not solely to blame on Russell Wilson. So let's take a look here at Sean Payton's Super Bowl victory and that team and kind of what made that team tick and how different is that team from our team right now. So if you look here, all these people are saying like Sean Payton wants to throw the ball 90% of the time and run the ball 1% of the time. And if you look at this Super Bowl run, that season, when they beat the Colts in the Super Bowl, they had 544 passing attempts and 468 rushing attempts, which if you do the math on that, it's like 53.75% or something like that. So 54% of the time in their Super Bowl run, they threw the ball, meaning 46% they ran the ball. So how different is that than what we're doing right now? And you might say, oh, that's so different. But if you actually look at our current breakdown, Russell Wilson has 345 passing attempts, and we have 316 rushing attempts, which is like 52%. So in his heyday, in his perfect offense, the only time he won a Super Bowl, he passed it 54% of the time, and now he's passing it 52% of the time. So I don't see that as Russell Wilson is hamstringing him, and he's not able to do what he wants. It's a 2% difference in his peak performance and what he's doing now. And on top of that, I think here's what the big difference is. Obviously, we are not the Drew Brees-led Saints, but what is it that made the Drew Brees-led Saints tick? And what it is not the play of the quarterback. It is instead the play of the tight end. And if you look here, some really interesting take here off of Mile High Sports is that we have produced less than 26 receiving, here's the stat, is that a Payton and Wilson-led offense, when they were successful, never had a tight end room that produced less than 26 receiving yards per game. And Wilson never had one that was successful that produced less than 37 yards per game. Now, if you look here, our tight end room is producing a measly 16.2 receiving yards per game. And that is just such a huge fall off from what Sean Payton aspirationally wants, what Russell Wilson aspirationally wants, that really you see a tight end wide open over the middle, and one completion can easily be that 16.2% or 16.2 yard reception. And so I think that is the biggest difference. Is Sean Payton isn't hamstrung by Russell Wilson. He is hamstrung by the literal hamstring of Greg Dulcich, who is out, and the fact that we have a guy, Kroll, who is off of our practice squad, who we signed, and the very week we signed him off of the street, he's playing in that Buffalo game. He is the one who that last Hail Mary attempt in the end zone against Houston was to. And we have a rookie free agent tight end that no one has heard of in Kroll being the go-to target. And we know that for a successful Russell Wilson, for a successful Sean Payton, they need a stud tight end. They don't just need, they don't need an average tight end. They need a stud, and we have below average tight end play. So I think if you think back to Sean Payton's glory days, his tight ends have been absolute beasts. So I think of the first Thor ever, right? He was Thor before Thor was even cool, was Jeremy Shockey. And I just remember like wanting to grow my hair out, and then realized that it really was like how jacked he was that made that work. But look at the number of targets he got during those Super Bowl runs: 72, 67, 59. he's catching 50, 48, 41 passes. And if you look at his yards per game, just dwarf anything we've had. And that is our Achilles heel right now. It is not Russell Wilson. It is get him a tight end over the middle. We look at Russell Wilson's breakdown, and all of his stuff is outside. All of his stuff's outside because he has a really weak link in the middle of the field. And if you throw a big dude in the middle of the field, like a Jeremy Shockey, like the most successful tight end Russell Wilson ever got to play with, was this guy right here, Jimmy Graham. Who was Jimmy Graham made famous by? He was made famous and changed the entire game because of Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton really set the scene for the resurgence and this new era of a tight end, a pass-catching tight end. You even remember Jimmy Graham and the NFL arbitration. Jimmy Graham was catching so many balls, having so many balls thrown to him. He's like, pay me like a wide receiver. I'm not. Tight ends used to be blockers. I'm catching it now. And after Jimmy Graham, you then have Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez and Julius Thomas and all of these tight ends who are changing the game. Travis Kelce, all were made because Sean Payton showed what an amazing tight end can do. And I think you look at these years under Sean Payton, he's targeting his tight ends hundreds of times in a season. And most people, if you went up after a game at Invesco and asked most Broncos fans, who is our tight end? Tell me one thing about our tight end. I don't think most fans could even tell you because our tight end play is so bad. I think there's some potential with Kroll when he has a whole offseason. He obviously has all the physical traits. We broke that down in a video as soon as we signed him. But with limited padded practices and OTA and preseason not being a deal, he hasn't had a chance to learn this offense in a way. He hasn't had a chance to learn how to play tight end in a way that he can step in and make a difference. So my thesis, Sean Payton needs a tight end to be successful. Russell Wilson needs a tight end to be successful. We all had very high hopes of Greg Dulcich and his hamstring. And you even saw Sean Payton rush Dulcich back to play on that Thursday night game when a lot of analysts were saying, let him rest one more and have a full 10 days. He re-injured his hamstring because he got pushed back in early. I think he was pushed back in early because Sean Payton realized that a good tight end is the key to this Broncos succeeding. So how can we make that work? Hopefully Dulcich is back by a playoff run. That would be great. But he will be coming back off of an injury, off of a hamstring injury, which could make that a slow ramp back up. So here's the thing I'm very excited about, and I would just be over the moon excited. I would go buy a jersey if we were able to make this move. So Zach Ertz, you might remember, played tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. Just a great guy, great family. His wife played on the U.S. women's national soccer team, Julie Ertz. She's a beast as well. But he was with the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals really started flaming out when Kyler Murray was hurt, and so he asked for a release, and the Cardinals released him. He made it all the way through waivers because no team in the NFL wanted to pay him the $3 million or something like that were remaining on his contract. So when you clear the waiver wire, you then get your pick of the litter and they get to renegotiate the contract with you. It's what happened with Shaquille Leonard, the linebacker from the Colts. He hit the waiver wire. No one put in a waiver. He then got to go visit some teams. He went to the Cowboys and the Eagles. So Ertz is cleared the waiver wire and now has his pick of the litter. And there are places saying that his first pick would probably be San Francisco because he is a California kid. But I think if he's thinking long-term, San Francisco already has Kittle, and that is their long-term solution. And are you really going to go and make a meaningful difference when you have Kittle, Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Ayuk, all of those people? Like, there's just not enough balls to go around for him to go make a difference. And so there are a lot of people saying that the Broncos would be foolish to not take out every effort to try to go get Zach Ertz, and that would be awesome. We even see Chris Harris, who's plugged in, still knows a lot of the coaching staff and is very plugged into here, saying this would be a perfect pickup for the Denver Broncos. So I truly believe that if we were either to get Greg Dulcich healthy or to make a run at Zach Ertz, that opens up Sean Payton's entire offense. That opens up Russell Wilson's ability to look at the middle of the field. If he does not have an option at tight end, then he can look to the outside to Sutton or Judy. I think if we were to do this, Broncos country, we will make the playoffs, and we will make a deep run in the playoffs. With this defense, we saw what happened when you put a great defense in the playoffs, and I think we have a great shot. Thanks so much for watching in Broncos country. Let's ride.